I might have overpaid for this one. Usually I'm really conservative with my investments, but with this one, I took a bit of a higher risk by paying a higher price for it than I usually do. But there was a reason why I felt like it was worth the higher risk and the higher price. Watch this. Welcome back to the channel that simplifies the stock market. In this video, I'm going to analyze the company AutoHome, and I'm going to explain why I bought it for $69 per share. And I'll also explain some of the risk of investing in AutoHome. Now, I've already mentioned that I paid a higher price for this company. I paid around 15 times earnings for it. But when I looked at the business, I saw that it was a solid business. It was one that I could understand, and their financials look beautiful. So let's go ahead and get into it. We'll throw up our checklist for this video, and we'll start off by looking at what the company does and how it makes its money.
All right, so the first thing I want to explain is this 20F form rather than the 10K. So 10Ks are for U.S. companies based in the U.S. 20Fs are for foreign companies based in foreign countries. They file a 20F rather than a 10K, but it's the equivalent. It's the same thing as a 10K. It's just a little bit, the format is a little bit different, but it still has the same information. So now that we got that out the way, we can go down and look at the information on the company so we can get the overview.
Basically, wrapped up in a nutshell, you can think of AutoHome as like the Chinese version of Carvana. It's just a platform that allows users to come in and buy cars, and then dealers on the other side to come in and sell their cars or post their cars on listings to the end consumer. But now we're going to go ahead and look at it a little bit more in depth and in detail so that we can actually see what they say about the business.
So when we see the overview, we can read in the first sentence, it says, "We are the leading online destination for automobile consumers in China, ranking first among automotive service platforms in terms of mobile daily active users as of December 31st, 2020, according to Quest Mobile." And then it goes on to talk about their two websites, autohome.com.cn and che168.com, which are accessible through PCs, mobile devices, and mobile applications, and many apps. So we can skip through some of this technical jargon and then come down here to see where they generate revenues from. And, this is important. This is what we want to know when it comes down to business. So it's through their media services, the leads generation services, and online marketplace, and others. So this first one is just talking about how they provide automakers with targeted marketing solutions in connection with brand promotion, new model release, and sales promotion. Gotcha. And then next with the leads generation services, you see how with their platform, the dealers that subscribe to it, they have to pay to subscribe to be able to create their own online stores so they can have list pricing, promotional information, et cetera, to be able to sell their cars to the end customer. So they have to subscribe for this, and of course they have to pay a subscription fee. And then in this last sentence it says, "Our leads generation services also include used car listing services, which provide a user interface that allows potential used car buyers to identify suitable listings and contact the relevant sellers." And then lastly, we see the online marketplace. And we see that with this method of generating revenues, it says these businesses focus on providing facilitation services for new and used car transactions and other platform-based services for new and used car buyers and sellers. And they also, through their auto financing businesses, provide services to their cooperative financial institutions that involve facilitating the sale of their loans and insurance products to consumers and independent automobile sellers. So all in all, it looks like a platform that allows for buyers and sellers to come and purchase cars. And they have a few different ways of generating revenue by providing this service. And then when we come down to look at the websites, the distinction between the two websites that they have, autohome.com.cn targets a wide spectrum of automobile consumers with a focus on new automobiles, and che168.com website focuses on used automobiles. And then when you come down to this section, our mobile websites and applications, you can just get a little bit of the numbers. So according to Quest Mobile, the combined number of average daily active users for our mobile websites, primary application, and mini apps amounted to 29.1 million, 36.8 million, and 42.1 million in December 2018, 19, and 20, respectively. And this talks about some of the other things that they offer as far as originally generated content and professionally generated content. And just talking about the editorial team that makes available automobile related articles and reviews. And this is in-house, but when you come down to professionally generated, they actually, now you can see that they had over 24,000 professional content contributors on the platform. And this has grown from 20,000 in 2019 versus 2020. And then the next thing that I want to point out before we move on from the business overview, because we got an idea for what the business does, the product that they sell or the service that they sell, and how they generate the revenue. I want to touch on this sentence that says, as of December 31st, 2018, 2019, and 2020, we had over 90.7 million, over 110 million, and over 135.5 million registered users, respectively. Now, this is a good amount of users, but I'm also thinking that China has a population of over 1 billion people. I'm not sure how much people actually drive cars. I'm sure it's a good amount, but these numbers let me know that, hey, they could probably penetrate a little bit further and get more users. You get more users, you can generate more revenue. I'm not sure if they have transaction fees, but the more people come to the site, the more valuable ad space becomes. And they can charge the dealers a higher fee to be able to use the service to market their cars to the end consumers. So just something to think about, because I'm thinking about future growth.
Cool, so we understand what the business does and how it makes its money. It's a simple to understand business, and that's what I look for so I can use my instincts. If I'm confused about a business while I'm reading their 10K report, next. Now let's look at one of the things that really impressed me about AutoHome, their revenue and earnings trends. But you'll see what I mean. Just watch.
Now next we're looking at the revenue. And this is the thing that got me. This is what made it so attractive to me as a business. Let me scroll down and show you. Now, I've been tracking this business for a minute, but I couldn't buy it before because it was trading at like 25 times earnings. And I'm not paying 25 times earnings for it. I'm just not paying 25 times earnings. But if you see the revenue chart, it's a beautiful uptrend. But let's look at the actual numbers and see how this breaks down and what it calculates out to. So we see that in 2012, revenue was 120 million. But come up to 2020, 8 years later, revenue has ballooned to 1.3 billion. Now, when we calculate that growth out, that's over 35% growth per year. Now, that's amazing. And this is the kind of business that I want to own. Now, will they be able to keep up 35% growth into the future for a long period of time? Probably not. But if this business can grow at over 20% for the foreseeable future, then it just becomes more and more valuable. More and more people will be attracted to it and be willing to pay higher and higher prices for it, which means that the stock price will go up. And then when we look at the earnings over this same time period, we can look at this chart as well. Look at this. Come on, man. That's beautiful. And we see that earnings went from 35 million in 2012 to 8 years later in 2020, 522 million. And that's some explosive growth. That's what you want to see. If you own this business back here and you continue to hold it and own it through to here, that's just what you want to see, man. That's beautiful. And then when we calculate that out, the average growth per year is over 40%. So this has been a fast grower so far. And fast growers are attractive companies, if you can get it at the right price.
Now that is crazy growth. It's impressive. And of course we want it to continue to grow like this into the future, even if it doesn't grow that much. Hey, you liking the video so far? Go ahead and give it a like and subscribe. Now let's look at the company's profit margin, which is also impressive.
Now, usually when I look at the profit margin, I typically come over to Yahoo Finance. But if you see right here that this currency is in CNY, I've heard this pronounced a couple different times. I tried to look it up before the video, whether it's won or yuan or this is the Chinese currency. So these numbers aren't in US dollars. Now, usually I'll just go ahead and take the second step and, pull up a new tab and type in CNY to US dollars so I can get this figure in US dollars. But I could just go ahead and pull it up and they have it converted already in the 20F report. So that's what I'm going to use. Okay, so cool. I had an income statement pulled up in the 20F report and you can see the different currencies, RMB versus the US dollar. And for this last year, 2020, they actually have, you can see net revenues, or how total net revenue comes out to 8.6 billion because these numbers are in thousands of RMB. And then you see how that's already converted over to US dollars on this report. So you can look at the total net revenue in 2020 was 1.3 billion. And off of that 1.3 billion, they profited, and I'm going to use this attributable to AutoHome Inc., 521.8 million. So when you calculate net income of 521.8 million off of 1.3 billion in net revenue, this gives the company a profit margin of over 39%. And that's amazing.
Profit margin of over 38%.